Welcome to Reality Test. I'm Dr. K, solo today. Feel free to check in and take a seat wherever you like. Dr. Ray is doing work things, hopefully some play as well in these couple weeks here. So we sort of took a break for a week, and I'm throwing a little bit of a surprise midweek podcast episode out for this week. So fun. It's a little surprise. And I'm going to do the segments. And what's kind of fun and bizarre and new and special is I'm going to use the segments across different shows rather than about one show. So it's sort of like a combination of our awards show and our segments. If anybody is new to the pod, our segments are 6 psychologically themed questions or sort of topic areas that we typically approach one episode of a show with. In this case, I'm going to be talking about Summer House, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and the Valley, as well as a little bit of Beyond the Villa, surprisingly. We'll be on the villa action for you. So we will do that. I am also going to use my sort of reality check and check in to instead talk about an update about Summer House. So I'm going to go over the Scamanda update a little bit. If anybody is new to the Scamanda of it all, that is a scandal happening on Summer House where a woman of color, Sierra, had been dating this white guy named West. They were sort of just shy of calling themselves a relationship because he was worried about commitment, but they were still super, super close for a whole summer of filming, and then after they were still super close, and then they finally slept together. She was holding out so that he would take her seriously. They finally sleep together, and he broke up with her soon after. Then, fast forward, the next summer, they were super awkward. She was pissed at him because he went on to in the media and was talking about her and saying that we aren't each other's people, which was really upsetting. He wouldn't say it to her, but he would say it to the news. Gross. So she gave him that feedback. But still, it was really awkward the first summer because she wanted to give him no wiggle room, which I totally understand and appreciate. And then the next year, it was kind of like stonewalling or gray rocking love. So the next summer sort of started out that way, but over time he would flirt with her when they were drinking, and then they started getting into this little flirtmance again. Obviously, she still has a lot of feelings for him. He sort of took advantage of that, in my opinion, in terms of trying to get back to feeling normal in the house again, which I really think was his only goal. And they were starting to be friends again. They broke ground towards being friends, setting boundaries together. And what do you know? Just a couple months after they finished filming, it turns out he's sleeping with Amanda. And Amanda is Sierra's closest friend in the house. Sierra stood up for her in big ways, including to Amanda's husband. Amanda had just gotten separated, and then soon after sort of hard launched her relationship of some sort with West. Now, there's a good amount of speculation about what kind of relationship it even is, but they're seen at games together, kissing, whatever. So, pretty horrific betrayal of Sierra by Amanda. It's been compared to Scandal. A major difference is that Sierra is a woman of color, betrayed by 2 white people. After talking quite at length in this latest season about how it is to be a person of color on a show with mostly white people, and how she got a lot of flack from black people for not about getting kind of played by West, that she should have seen that coming and known better. And that's just so heartbreaking because, of course, she's with this guy 24/7, and he seems so sweet and genuine, and so hard to blame her. Okay, so that's the background on that. I'm also going to take this moment to just say, and when Dr. Ray is here, Dr. Ray, we are indeed therapists, but we're not your therapists. We are instead podcast hosts in this capacity, and therefore we're our whole human selves with the supplement of our psychological knowledge. But this is not how we would talk to clients, and this is not how we are with our clients. However, we're still going to do our best not to diagnose, because certainly we have not done formal assessments with our castmates that we're talking about. Right there. It's like me or acting as if I know them. Right, because reality TV has that effect on us. It makes us feel like we know these people and they're friends. So even though we might talk with some familiarity, we do not actually know these folks. And I've never assessed them professionally, and therefore could not possibly know their diagnoses. And we do try to avoid diagnostic language. Sometimes it comes into the chat just in terms of informal, sort of like, this looks like this, but we don't know for sure. So there might be some of that. Primarily, we like to talk about things like sociopolitical themes that come up, and relationships, and a little bit about mental health and psychological knowledge to the extent that it can help us understand something that isn't really well represented in the show itself, because there's a lot of misnomers, misinformation spread by reality. So that is all for me on the intro front. Let's get into this update on the Scamanda and Sierra. We love Sierra. This is a Sierra Pro podcast, has always been, in fact. Also, Dr. Ray is a secret, not very secret, in fact, quite public, Kyle apologist. I am not, but certainly in this scenario, I think he's doing has his best foot forward, frankly. But now their best has been a huge Amanda fan ever, so we're really Sierra fans. One update is Sierra's doing Dancing with the Stars. Yay for Sierra! I'm excited for her. That's awesome. She deserves it. She deserves all of the good things in life, of course, as she would anyway. This is not because of this going on with the Scamanda of it all. I really think she's just a phenomenal person, so I'm excited for her to get some good in life. Some good things handed to her, and not handed to her freely. She works hard. So I also want to talk about the fact she did a Glamour magazine interview, and she did come out and say, right, like, ultimately, I do feel betrayed. She did feel more betrayed by Amanda than by West, and that's understandable. She said, like, I really championed her. I stood up to her husband for her and all this stuff, and then sort of like this is like not it. She also talked about the fact that she and Wes had really gone back to being friends more than we're probably going to see even on the season. But the latest episode, we do see a little bit of it starting to happen, where they kind of break ground together by going out for breakfast at a restaurant I've been to, in fact, in Montauk. So I recognized it. Very cool. Love that. And she and Wes are therefore friends, let's say like December or so, when she has her birthday dinner. She invites him, he comes. She invites Amanda, she doesn't come, but that apparently is like the Amanda thing, the style. She doesn't like going out or something, but she likes to be invited. I have heard that as a thing before as well. So that happened, showing they were also still friends at the time. Wes came to the birthday dinner, and she talked about the fact that they had made new boundaries together about like how do we feel in our friendship? How are we going to make sure this is working? And she said that one of the boundaries they set was no more sleeping with Bravo people. Ooh. And I kind of wonder if that came from West first, or even from her as a bone to West, because of the Jesse of it all. So very clearly in the episode most recent from Summer House, which actually, by the way, I think there was one last night, and I'm not talking about that one. So the one from last week. In the most recent episode, one of the most recent episodes, they are out breaking bread at a place in Montauk for breakfast, and he brings up the thing about Jesse, and it's clear he was pretty upset about it, which obviously felt good for her, and I wanted her to know that he felt that way, because that was heartbreaking when she thought he didn't care, which is how Lindsay communicated it. But Lindsay communicated it because West kind of acted like he didn't care. And so when she said, I was just hurt that you didn't seem to care, and he said, well, what was I supposed to say? You know, he did clearly care that she was going to maybe make out with Jesse. And he said, I knew you weren't going to make out with Jesse. You didn't know that, by the way. But then she said, well, why didn't you stop it? And he said, what was I supposed to do? And she said, make sure I didn't save me from it or whatever. So, it was painful. Honestly, hard conversation, because I just so badly want to, I get where she's coming from, but also actually kind of undoes her argument, which is that they shouldn't get to dictate whom she kisses. But the point was she wants it to be a little bit of possessiveness when it's coming from West, which is really sweet. She cried into his arms. Oh, God, heartbreaking, just knowing where we're at now. Really hard to watch. Sweet. Oh. Something else I wanted to mention was something she said about not wanting to feel like she's been bamboozled again. And I think that that's a theme that really every one of us can relate to. There's something about being played that is just so icky feeling, and it makes us feel embarrassed and like retrace our steps. Like, what did I do? How did I say that? What would that have sounded like if I had known? But obviously I didn't know, so that's why it sounded like this. But what was that person thinking? And now that they knew this other thing about me and I didn't know, what were they thinking when I said this? So she must be retracing her steps heavy throughout the last few months for what they knew and didn't tell her, and also about things that she probably wondered about at the time, didn't know what it meant, and now she does know. So that feeling of being played, I think, is icky, and something that will come up again in what I talk about today. It's something I just think we should put a little earmark on, because it really is one of those things that just is awful for all of us. We don't want to feel played. Yeah, I don't know. As a psychologist, I kind of want to look more into that idea, just because there's something about that does keep popping up, and yeah, we feel like we've been made a fool. In UK, Love Island, so I'm assuming UK slang, they say they've been mugged off. We don't like being mugged off. Made a fool. So, poor Sierra. Not poor Sierra, because Sierra's amazing, and she's got this, and she doesn't need any pity. And also, it's not fair. It's not fair what happened to her. Wouldn't be fair to anybody. But certainly not a woman of color who's doing the best she can in a world that is absolutely built against her, and she's even talking about that and being as authentic as she can, and then just absolute bullshit coming from the white folks at the table here. So there's two more categories I wanted to talk about with the Scamanda before I move on to my segments. One, and this is category A, actually not one, A. I don't like
the way that West has been so self-focused in every piece of this makeup journey that we're watching right now. So on this current season of Summer House, this is well before Sierra knows anything's going on between West and Amanda. It's maybe before things are going on between West and Amanda. Maybe not. I think at least there's some emotional stuff gaining ground between the two of them. So I'll come back to that because that's part of B. However, in this one, I just want to mention that instead we're seeing her have some faith in him again, especially in this latest episode, one of the latest episodes, and therefore is sort of giving it a shot to sort of try to trust him again. So, subcategory of A, little I, maybe, let's say, Roman numeral 1. I don't like when West is whining about how flirting with Sierra at night has made him feel more comfortable in the house, and that now he's ruined it by making out with a stranger. And he's telling us to our camera. So basically, the backstory of this, if you wouldn't watch Summer House, was that he was gaining ground with her by flirting with her at night when he was drinking. He had a conversation with her at the fridge at one point where he said, "I just don't know what to say around you. I feel uncomfortable." And she said, "That's exactly how I designed it." And so he's sort of saying, "Yeah, but like, what do I do?" And so they're gaining some ground. And then he has this party he throws, and we hear him say, one of them's really hot, one of the women coming. We don't know if he's met her before or if he's just seen her on Instagram. I'm assuming Instagram because he later says, "I've never even met this girl," whatever, or he's lying. So she ends up sitting on his lap and right next to Sierra, and he knows Sierra's there, because he even says, "The girl I used to date is right behind you," and she's like, "Oh, should I move?" He's like, no, because he's a people pleaser, and he cannot help himself. And if there's a girl who shows attention, he can't help himself but to accept it and flirt back, because he's a people pleaser. And also because he likes to be liked. Who doesn't? That's not a bad thing on its own, but to the extent that it hurts other people, it's tough. So priorities, right? So in that moment, he could have prioritized Sierra and her comfort and been like, "Hey, actually not the right time, but I appreciate you. This is not a rejection, but not right now." And that would have been great. Or just don't sit next to Sierra at a party where you invited another girl who you think is hot. Either way, it turns out she's sitting on his lap and even kisses him while Sierra's right there. She's super uncomfy, kind of makes herself known, and that she'll be right back, kind of hoping, I think, that he would get her off his lap. I'm not sure how that wrapped up because we didn't see her come back to the seats, but he kind of plays it off as if he didn't know she was there, because she keeps saying, like, "That was so hurtful because my whole thing is not being seen," and clearly he didn't even see me. Like, that was another moment where I feel like I wasn't seen. And the thing is, she was seen. He didn't act on it after seeing her there, which is maybe worse. Is it worse if he feels like... Is it worse that he's proving that he doesn't see her, or is it worse that he sees her and isn't respecting her wishes? And again, it's really a people-pleasing thing. I think he genuinely kind of didn't want to do that, but just felt like he didn't want to upset the person he invited over. Ugh, tough. But, by the way, this is all more fodder for the fact that he's super self-concerned and self-focused, right? Like, he doesn't want to disappoint this new girl. He's not, like, thinking, well, really, I should put Sierra's feelings first before my own wishes to not discomfort or cause discomfort for this stranger, frankly. But then what I'm complaining about first here is him complaining to the camera, because he sort of says, he whines to the camera like, "I really felt like flirting with Sierra at night has been making the house feel so much more comfortable, and it sucks to think I might have ruined that just by making out with a stranger. That kind of sucks." So the thing is, like, the way he's doing this is actually feeling like he's blaming her. Like, sort of like, why does she have to make it such a big deal? Why does it have to ruin all the ground I made with her? Sort of like, why is she upset about it kind of energy. Not like, damn, why'd I have to fuck up like that? Ooh, rough. In another scene, Sierra and West are in her bedroom. It's about the same topic. He comes in and sort of says, like, "Wow, like, I'm feeling real uncomfy. I don't like this. I don't like acting like we're strangers." She says, like, "It's just better we're not friends." And she says that, and he mother effing sits down in her room. Like, first of all, not invited, but at the same time, she still cares a lot about him, so it's tough in some ways, but like, who's to say she didn't really kind of want him to sit down? But anyway, point being, he sits down, misses the message there, and he says, "Well, you're the closest to me of all the people here, and I hate that I fucked up, and that it matters. It probably matters more to him than to her that they not be strangers with each other there." And then he goes, "I've just tried really hard to show you that I care, and I hate that it seems like nothing mattered. Like, you say you're cool with being awkward. I'm not. It's deeply uncomfortable for me." And he sort of like pauses and goes, "Well, I'm not good at pretending like we don't know each other. I don't know how to do that." As if like, "Oh no, I just care too much about you. I don't know how to do it." Because he pivots, because 2 seconds earlier, he's making it about like, "That's just really uncomfy for me. I don't really like acting like we're strangers." Right? Because that's really what this all friggin' comes down to. He's sick of feeling like he's walking on eggshells, which he has directly said, and putting in all that time all summer to try to get back on good footing with her just to have it blow up in his face. He thinks that's on her. It's clearly on him. And he acts like he thinks it's on him, but it's not. He clearly doesn't think so. He just wants this to be over, you know? And Sierra very correctly says, I just don't have anything to offer you. Absolutely correct. You know, there are other moments I'll come back to, but these are some big ones that I think really show he's mostly out for himself here, really wanting to rekindle with her, not for the friendship at all, but just so it's more comfortable for him to be a part of the friend group. And maybe for fan attention as well, because he must know how many people don't like him because they like her. All right. So there's that bit. There's a little bit there. The other subsection B, and then we'll get into the segments. The other category of Scamanda that I don't feel great about watching the Summer House season back now, knowing what we know. And they don't know what they know. They don't know anything yet on the show, except maybe Amanda and West do know a little something, right? So that's the category B. All of the indications of Amanda and West being closer than expected, sooner than expected. Okay, subsection little Roman numeral 1. One of the scenes, Amanda is yelling at West in the city. So they filmed in the city between weekends of the share house. She's yelling at him about Sierra, ? And she has a little smile in the corners of her mouth while she's yelling at him, which is a very real indication of the fact that she's hiding something, that they probably have a shared truth that is below the surface. This doesn't mean for real that they are fucking already. It does suggest to me there's an emotional bond that we don't know about, and that they're sort of trying to keep it cool and make it seem like it's really just about Sierra. So one of the things that happens is actually Kylan goes and gets them drinks, and he brings them over, and they just very casually cheers each other, and nothing with Kyle. They're not like, oh, do you have a drink? Cheers him. No, they're just very, as if very practiced, you know, cheers each other. Not even a thought to Kyle, really. Amanda says to West, you've been such a good friend to me all summer long, defending me with Kyle and so forth, and just to watch you disrespect her was hard to watch. And he goes, yeah, that's what I've been trying to protect everything. Okay, what is that? That is not it. That is not it. She goes, she kind of was like, well, it's just really uncomfortable for all of us, right? She's sort of saying like the whole house is uncomfy. It affects all of us, she says, right? And he goes, I know, I'm an idiot. I understand why it was disrespectful and hurtful, but now I'm like, what did I jeopardize? Like, is it a friendship? Is it what? And then Amanda says, well, there's a lot of moving pieces and layers, and rumor has it you've been super flirty when you go out at night. Okay. In response to that, he goes, now the friendship is fucked. So, like, right, he reestablishes to her it's just a friendship after she brings up them flirting when they go out. Backing up a little bit for a second. When he goes, that's what I've been trying to protect everything, right? And even her saying, like, you've been such a good friend to me all summer, so it's hard to watch. She doesn't say, like, Sierra's been ride or die for you, and then over the last 2 summers, she's been trying to show you how much you hurt her. It's not about that. It's about her. It's about her friendship with West. Because what is it really about? It's about her relationship with West. And her having to see him kissing another girl or hear about it and not being allowed to confront him about it in public because no one's supposed to know that they have a special thing. And him being like, well, that's what I've been trying to protect everything, right? Sort of feels like he's saying, like, you too. I've been trying to protect you too. And I fucked that up. And then him being like, I know I'm an idiot. I understand why it was disrespectful. I think meaning also to you. And he goes, but now I'm like, what did I jeopardize? And to me, that's sort of saying, like, did I also jeopardize us? Not just her. Honestly, that's what I feel like. Another version of that could have been, what did I jeopardize? Meaning, like, well, you know, were we going to be anything anyway? Versus, like, I thought we were just going to be friends anyway, so who cares? You know? Or he's like, wait, I guess there was something more serious going on. I didn't realize that right? That's actually a great point. It could very easily be, I thought we were just friends, which should mean I'm allowed to fucking make out with someone else. So, like, why is she that hurt? Unless she thought it was going to be more than friendship. Yeah, but he, at the same time, that would have been something he could have said in so many other pockets, and he didn't. So it still feels really relevant to the Amanda piece, especially because in response she goes, there's a lot of moving pieces and layers. Moving pieces meaning people, right? Like, she's a moving piece and with layers, just like Sierra's a person with layers in the piece of this. And saying rumor has it you've been flirting when you go out at night. Not just when they go out, they've been flirting at the house, which says so much about the fact they have not been doing it in front of Amanda, I think. And she gives him such a knowing smile when she says that. Just sort of like, oh, what are you going to say here? I know you've been flirting. Right? And his response being, the friendship is fucked. No, just friendship. No, back up, Amanda. Isn't anything more. And then he goes, any advice? And she says, well, don't go silent. She goes, take accountability, apologize. No ifs, ands, or buts. Right? Again, sort of like, this also would work with me. take accountability, yada yada. So all of that is, like I said, was a little smile in the corner of her mouth, at least for part of it, definitely a smile in the corners of her mouth. Very clearly there's subtext here. Even just the fact that like half of this is like nonsense words. Like, that's what I've been trying to protect everything. What is that? What was the other one I was just thinking of? Oh, there's a lot of moving pieces and layers, and rumor has even super flirty. I mean, each of these are just sort of like, huh? Like, what does that mean? It just means something else, right? Like, her being like, it's hard for everyone in the house. It's hard for all of us, just for all of our sake. Why for your sake? What does your sake have anything to do with it? The like, for all our sake pieces means something else to me, personally. She said, one of them said, it's hard for the whole house. I think it was actually Amanda. And I think that's her way of being like, it was hard for me. It's hard on me too, not just Sierra. And that's it, right? Like, it is not important that it also is uncomfortable for you. You should be standing for your girl, period. End of story. If you want to later bring up the rest of the house, not even in this conversation, but another future conversation, sure. Right now, it's for Sierra or not at all. Leave it at the leave your shit at the door, frankly. I'm not here for it. So I think it says a lot about how she personally felt offended by it too. And again, it could have just been on a friendship level, but I think it was more. I'm just going to say. So that felt like a data point. Another data point, when Kyle in bed, no one else is there. It's just Kyle. He said, thank you for coming to my show. She said, of course. And he says, I love you. And she takes a beat and she whispers very quietly, love you too. Love you too. Ooh, I kind of felt like she's already fucking West. In that moment, I was like, oh. And right, like, we know she's not happy in her marriage with Kyle. That's very clear. And maybe she doesn't love him anymore. And also, something about how she said it felt like she was protecting someone else. Like, why whisper it? I honestly think that she, out of just instinct, would normally, I think anybody, even if they fall out of love, sort of out of instinct, sort of just say it back. It's like the way we're normally used to saying it, sort of gut reaction. The fact she took so long to say it and then whispered it felt very important, sadly. Oh. Okay. Then the last data point, and then I'll move on to the segments. So there was a whole night where West and, so first it was like Amanda and Kyle were fighting. He said, fuck you. She sort of was like, that's annoying, whatever. And everyone else was like, whoa, I can't believe he said that to you. Like, whoa. And she just sort of was like, let it go. It's his birthday tomorrow. I'm fine. It kind of says to me, he says worse things to her behind closed doors. But he actually ended up saying to the camera, we need to go to therapy because I fucked it all up because I said fuck you. And it seemed like he genuinely thought that was the thing that fucked it up. To me, I'm sort of like, I don't know. I think there's other things going on between the two of you, not just on her part either, but just there are dynamics there that need some work. And I think the fuck you is only a small symptom of it. But still, so he owns that in a way that made me feel like maybe he doesn't say a whole lot to her that's offensive. I don't know. But still, so in that night where they're fighting about it, or sort of fighting, they were in the bathroom, and he was sort of like saying, you never pay attention to me, you don't even look at me, you looked at me angry, so I said that. And she got in bed, and next thing you know, well, first of all, at one point when he wasn't even in the room yet, West was in the bathroom with her while she was explaining to him what was going on and how it was with Kyle, and that's just how it is, and blah, 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 it's his birthday, I don't care, da, da, da. And he was like, that's normal? That's not cool. Like, so he's sort of standing up for her in those moments, playing hero. Kyle walks in. By the way, West kept checking the door to see if Kyle was there. Kyle does walk in, and he goes, hey, man, you gotta go talk to her. Like, not cool. And Kyle does kind of go talk to her. Still, like, it's awkward. But then at one point, I don't know, I actually do not remember if this is the same fight or this is a different one. But at another point, he's in the bathroom with Kyle. She's in bed, and he's telling Kyle, like, get your shit together, bro. Like, be nicer to her. He comes out of the bathroom and says over to Amanda quietly as well. He just was like, hey. And she goes, I'm sorry. She said, I'm sorry. To me, it's like she feels bad. He's in this position because it's an awkward one if they're fucking, and he's out there trying to tell Kyle to get his shit together. There's been some like online chatter about the idea of like using your husband as a cover for your boyfriend kind of idea. And so like sort of that, like he has to like let them be a couple so that it doesn't show that they're a couple also behind scenes or that they're fucking behind scenes. There's something about being able to like play this camera or like play the audience that must be exciting for them. I can totally imagine them fucking this summer. Totally. But yeah, so she sort of said like, I'm sorry. And such a like, I'm sorry I have to do this. This is super uncomfy for you. This sucks. To me, I was like, I don't know why you would say sorry to a friend who has to do that. Like, whatever. Like, it's a Kyle problem, not mine. I'm sorry Kyle's like that, sure. But I'd be like, I'm sorry Kyle's like that, dude. Don't worry about it. You know? No. It was like a very like, I'm sorry. And then he goes, I love you. What? So that was a moment. And even if it is from a friendship level, do we hear him saying that to anyone else? No, ma'am. At least not the women. So that was a moment as well. I think those moments kind of like add up a little bit, but again, it could just be this is the emotional cheating section of their relationship, but it's definitely the beginning of something big. And it was not like this last season. Okay, other thing worth noting, producers get to re-choose the scenes that they are showing us, so they easily could have made sure that they had way more scenes like this, and that there were scenes like this last season, but we just didn't see them because it wasn't a big deal. So I do want to say it is also possible we're getting we definitely are getting a very curated subsection of the scenes, but still, it feels very new to me how seriously close they are. Okay, so that's sort of my update on what I'm feeling watching Summer House, knowing what we know about Amanda and West. Bummer. Okay, next. Let's do segments. Okay. So, again, for my segments, I'm pulling a little bit from Summer House, but mostly, honestly, The Valley, Beyond the Villa, about Love Island, season 7 or something, and Real Housewives of Beverly Hills a little bit. I'm kind of hoping that Dr. Ray and I might do Real Housewives of Beverly Hills reunion parts 1 and 2 for our next episode together, so I'm not going to put a whole lot of that in there. Segment number 1 is, if psychologists were producers were psychologists, what would they do differently? I think, actually, interestingly, on The Valley, the producers did Danny dirty. And I'm not a big fan of Danny. I have to be real clear about that. I love Nia. I feel for Nia. I think Danny has moments where he's very mature on it, more emotionally intelligent than the other guys. But as soon as he drinks especially, but even when he's at home with Nia alone, he's just too goofy to take seriously. It feels like he's unable to take things seriously when she really needs him to, and that feels shitty, because she even asks him and he won't. But then he can be super serious in other settings with the men and so forth. So, rough. He also objectifies her, I'm such a giver, and then God gave me Nia, on a silver platter, as if she's food or an object. Gross. He, a few years ago, put his hands on Jasmine's butt when he was drinking, and he has tried to apologize to her for it. It's still ultimately sexual assault, technically. You cannot put your hand on someone else's erogenous zones of any kind without consent. It is assault. That said, a big fight sort of broke out, or argument among Danny and Janet and Jason, because she was calling it sexual assault, and he really doesn't like that language, and he thinks it's too inflammatory. But it's true, and Jason's a lawyer, and she brought that point up. She's like, he's a lawyer, of course he's going to think that way, and she's right about that. I'm not a big Janet fan, I'm not a big Jason fan, I'm also not a big Danny fan, so I like Jasmine, and I like her girlfriend a lot, Melissa, maybe, Michelle. No, Melissa. I really like them, and also, in this case, I sort of feel like it was maybe too much to say that. I don't know. It's just on the show, and okay, here's it. Listen, they were right to use that word, because that word is true. What Danny brought up to camera, which I totally agree with, the part that he's upset about that I think is valid, is that he said it wasn't their fight to fight, and they really just drove it home over and over again. Fair, right? It's not yours to do. It did feel like they were doing it to get sort of camera time, or to make him look bad, because he made Jason look bad for taking his ring off when he goes out to the bars. It was sort of retaliatory to the next level. They escalated it quite a bit. And I think even Jasmine was sort of not your thing, guy. So in that way I agree, although the language was technically true. So what I think the producers did to do him dirty, however, so Jason was, first of all, Luke, okay, what is happening with Luke? He's so young, early in life experience. So he tries to get all the guys together for a guys' night, because he's just dying for a guys' night. They all meet at a cigar bar or whatever the fuck. And let me say this, he totally self-focused when he was talking to Danny and Jason about getting them back together. So he basically, first talked to Danny, was like, can't you guys fix it? Danny was like, meh, nah. He's like, I'll think about it, but not really, right? Meh. He talks to Jason, he's like, can you please apologize to him? There's an apology he needed. And he was like, okay, I do want to see him again. I do want to be friends with him again. All right. But then when Luke goes to Danny, he's like, well, he really wants to apologize to you. No, he fucking doesn't. He might do it, but he doesn't really want to, So it was so clear Luke just really wanted to make his party happen. Because the other thing was Danny being like, I'll think about it, but maybe I'm not going to come, and that should have been a sign to Luke, this is not going to go great. He clearly doesn't really even want to hear an apology. Of course, after what happens at the cigar bar, Luke says, I think Danny's not ready to hear an apology. Correct. And if you'd gotten out of your own way for that conversation, you might have noticed that, instead of making it about just wanting the guys to get together so you could have a guys' night, get out of the house now that you're a new dad. Not all about you, my friend. Okay, so basically, though, while apologizing, Jason does kind of try to apologize, not very wholeheartedly, if I'm honest. And then Danny kind of puts the like end to it mid conversation by sort of saying like, I'm not here to be friends with you. And he goes, well, I'm not either, if I'm honest. He goes, first he goes, if I'm honest, I'm not here to be friends with you. And he goes, I'm not either if I'm honest with you. You know, sort of like repeats almost the exact same thing. Clearly uncomfortable that he said that, made him look bad. I think just feel rejected in front of everybody. So he sort of reacted strongly. And then he goes, well, at least hearing your perspective now, I'm not, you know, here to be friends. And he sort of was like, but why did you like make this a you thing? It's not about you. Like, it's not about Janet. And Jason said, well, it is about Janet when it's like, when you do something like that to one of the women in a friend group, it makes all the women uncomfortable. Other women are uncomfortable too around you and don't know what to do. You know, he's not wrong about that. I would say that's not really where Janet was coming from. I think he's not wrong that it is uncomfy for other people when they are unsure. And I think something about Danny, like when he's sober, people are very sure about him. So it's really when he drinks. And I think, you know, sure, that's probably uncomfortable when he drinks. He's not drinking right now. He hasn't been in the last few times we've seen him in the show. So that's great. But yeah, it just sort of was like, okay, yes, but don't like weaponize something that's true for Janet's sake that maybe isn't even really true for Janet. Like, I don't think she's that uncomfortable with him, at least not in that way. He's never touched her or even come close to that. So then Jason goes, no, well, Danny was like, why? Like, what do you mean? And he goes, well, you made her uncomfortable in the closet that time. Oh my God. So if you may recall, they were in whatever, Big Bear, some shit. They were like in the fucking wilderness. And in their house they rented, Janet was in the closet with the door open to get food. He went into the cabinet. The closet's big room. Okay, it's like a big cabinet room. He goes in there and closes the door to try to sneak some tequila without Nia seeing. Clearly, he didn't want her to see. He quickly chugs it, puts it back, and he goes, don't tell anybody. Not great. Definitely an alcoholic's move. Not great. But that did make Janet feel uncomfortable. I agree. Because then she was like, I feel like I have to tell people. And she told people, got him in trouble, got mad at Nia for like covering up for him and stuff. Turned into a whole thing. But never once was she like, I was uncomfortable with him being in a room alone with me. Or like, I didn't know what was going to happen next. You know, it was so clearly just about the drinking part. And never once did it waver from that. So, first of all, Jason bringing up in this context is kind of like, dude, that was a different issue. It wasn't about his handsiness. But then, the reason I put it in this subsection is because producers showed the scene, and all they showed was him walking into the cabinet and closing the door. They don't show the fact that, like, it was about the alcohol. They never even bring up the fact it was about him drinking and secret drinking. So they did him dirty. They made it look like he totally backed her into a corner and closed her in a closet. Ooh, I don't love it. So that misrepresentation feels crummy, even though, again, I'm not a huge Danny fan. I'm also not a big Janet and Jason fan, so that's probably part of it, too. Counteracts it a little bit. Kind of gross misrepresentation of it. So I would do that differently, to not try to misrepresent sexual assault, make it worse than it is, if I can help it. Granted, like, we should be talking about it as sexual assault, so that's another thing I might do as a producer, is sort of be like, yeah, but like, should we also talk about it at least straight to camera about the fact that that language is correct? And Danny did say to camera, I just don't like that they took someone else's thing and drove the bulldozer over me with it repeatedly. So he's not saying it is the use of the word, which I actually appreciate that, because the word is correct. So, but I wish they'd like had him say that directly, because producers have so much control over what people say straight to camera, and I think they could have said like, okay, but is it him using the word sexual assault, so that Danny could say, well, that is what it was, so I get that, right? Like, that would have been good. Remind the audience it is sexual assault. That part's true. Him going into the closet with Janet that made her uncomfortable, that was about the alcohol. Okay, keeping it moving. Next item, and by the way, these segments are a little bit out of order because I did it from memory. I know I got the segments right, but order is mostly true, but not entirely. So one of the ones that comes next, I think actually, you know what the next one is I Spotted Therapy. I'll just do that one. Okay. The next one is I Spotted Therapy. So one of the things I saw, which I loved, was Danny in conversation with Luke. Luke's talking about how, by the way, Luke is really driving me up a wall. Driving me to, Timbuktu in a very slow-moving, boring car with no volume up to the radio and nothing stimulating about it. Just very, very boring and very, very young and worrisome. His attitude is worrisome, and I worry for Kristen. We'll come back to that because it's part of a different segment. But in the meantime, he's talking to Danny about how, like, I'm just being ignored. She doesn't care about me. And, like, I feel ignored. He's talking about his new girlfriend, or his girlfriend and new baby mama. So he and Kristen have had a baby together. He's talking about Kristen. They're together but not married. Might get married. They're engaged. Yada, yada. Danny delightfully says like, yeah, man, you like try to make it work. It's not easy with kids. And if it doesn't work, you go to therapy. And I just love that he used it in such a normalizing way and talking about going to therapy with Nia when things aren't working. Loved that. Very normalizing. And sure enough, next time we kind of hear from Luke, he was talking about going to therapy with Kristen. So I think it really stuck, the normalization. I really appreciated that. Because I don't come back to this later, I'm just going to mention here, I think that Nia really is very burnt out. This is now a second season where she spent her time straight to camera talking about how burnt out she is and that it's tough. She needs help. She needs Danny's help. And I think he's good at like playing with the kids, but he's not good at like taking care of things on his own. I think she carries the emotional labor for sure. Like she needs to tell him what to do to take care of the kids when it's not just playing with them. I think she's so burnt out. She's having a hard time even really connecting with them or spending time with them, at least on camera. And I don't know if that just has to do with like whatever image or something, but even the way she was holding her new baby's up by its face, I just sort of was like, I don't know. It just felt like a little disconnected. And so I just worry about her in terms of peripartum anxiety or depression. Certainly I think she's very self-conscious about her body. So is Kristen. Nia is a pageant queen, Miss America, something like that, Miss Universe. She was a winner. She's stunning and also a great person. I really like her a lot. She seems very loyal to friends. She's smart. I really like her a lot. And also I think she's been pretty burnt out. So the reason I bring up the fact that it's now twice, like 2 seasons where she's said to camera that she's burnt out, I think what's happening is she's burnt out during the year in between filming as well, but no one's asking her about it. Like Danny definitely doesn't ask her how she's doing. That's just like not a factor of their relationship. I think she can tell him sometimes on her own, but I bet when cameras aren't rolling, they just sort of like go by the, go through the motions. And so now that she is then on camera again, she's getting asked like, how are you? How are things going? And it gives her a chance to sort of take stock. And then she's like, I'm not good, actually. Shit sucks right now. I need help. So I think it might sort of seem like she's always talking about that, but I think it's more so that she finally gets a time to talk about her own feelings. And I think he's troubling. So I'm glad they go to therapy, and I hope she gets her needs met. Always. The other thing I didn't like about their relationship, by the way, last season, I think it was that it was pretty clear, like, it was sort of like the vibe of, like, he thinks he deserves dinner on the table and or, like, sex when he wants it, and she's sort of like, so traditional gender roles, not for me, and I can see where that would wear her thin, and that in between filming times, she might not push back on that, but then when they're on camera, she pushes back because she feels like it's not just for her anymore, it's also for other women. So then he's like surprised because he doesn't expect that reaction probably. But yeah, I mean, I think they've gotten feedback for like being so perfect on camera. I don't think they're perfect on camera. I think there's trouble amongst them, between them. But I think also I do see what they mean about like sort of having a face that she needs to have. She needs to have a certain presentation as a Miss America, Miss Universe queen. And so she's telling us things are hard. And I think she's also trying to show us that she stands up for herself in her marriage, but I think she honestly has a hard time. She just wants things to be smooth. All right. Throw him out with that. Let's keep it moving. Next one, I spotted a socio-political moment. So I want to talk about the Brandon Jasmine of it all from from the Valley first, and then I'm going to do something actually from Summer House. So from the Valley, the whole Brandon Jasmine bit. Brandon is Brittany's new boyfriend. Brittany was married to Jax. They're divorced. Jax is out of the show. Love that. But she's now dating Brandon, whom she's known for a long time. He came back into the chat. So he has met Jasmine, a woman of color, the only woman of color on the cast that we know of, or at least like noticeably she has dark black skin. So shadeism and colorism is at play, even if not racism, but I think racism as well. And he's also a man of color, I believe. And so he has met Jasmine, but he hears in the car Lala sort of asking and sort of saying, like, isn't Jasmine sort of two-faced? Like, she says something to you, and then she's something about you behind your back. Because she heard directly from Michelle that Jasmine brought up while they were at the bar in response to Michelle saying that, who was it? She was talking about somebody else. And Jasmine was like, I think kind of Lala's like that, actually. Michelle said, was it maybe Zach she was defending? Or it was Jesse? I think she was defending Jesse Lally, maybe. If it was Jesse. So Michelle brings up the fact that Jesse's like totally two-faced. He's this way, and he seems fun, he seems great, but he's talking about behind your back. And in response to that, Jasmine was like, well, I actually feel like a lot of people like that. A lot of people here are like that. And Michelle says, who? And I honestly think she was thinking Michelle, if I'm so serious. But she looks up at the bar, sees Lala there, and goes, well, I love Lala, but I think if it wasn't for the show, we wouldn't be friends. So that gets back to Lala directly from Michelle, who says she thinks basically that you're fake. Basically, she's saying she thinks you're fake. And so then it turns into them kind of saying Jasmine's fake in front of Brandon. And Brandon says out loud to them, I've met Jasmine a couple times and she's been nothing but real to me. So I think maybe you just misunderstood. Love. Way to advocate. Lala gets upset. She's like, you're in my car. How dare you? Sort of disagree with me about something like this. Because then he also brings it to Kristen. I mean, he brings it to Jasmine as well. So obviously she gets really upset in that case. She's like, why would you go to, quote unquote, the enemy? I don't think Jasmine's the enemy. That's pretty rough. So she says that though, which by the way proves Jasmine's point. I didn't even think about that. It kind of proves Jasmine's point. Like, it's quick to get over Jasmine as a friend to call her the enemy that quickly. Ooh, Lala, I love you, girl. Not great. So Brandon, I like standing up for her. But anyway, Lala being like, why would you do that, Brandon? Like, what's up with that? Brandon's a man of color. There's one other woman of color on the cast, and he had her back. Absolutely should, needed. Glad he did. Very glad he did. The other way he had her back was to go to her at the next party and sort of say, yeah, so they were talking about it. And she was like, they're probably talking shit. And he was like, well, he's like, I don't think she was talking shit like willy-nilly, but she said da-da-da. But obviously that gets her kind of hackles it. Because he starts the whole conversation by saying, I had your back in the car. And so that's really what gets Jasmine going. She's sort of like, I had my back. Why would you need to have my back? Clearly something was going on. Jasmine also gives us the backstory that she and Lala had gone out to lunch 2 weeks prior. And they even had some footage of it. So obviously cameras were up at that lunch. I'm thinking Jasmine might have felt like Lala, and I'm assuming Lala invited Jasmine to lunch. Let me say that. Pretty clear. I think she even maybe suggested that in the way she talked about it. But it's pretty clear Lala invited Jasmine. And so I'm kind of wondering if that surprised her. She was sort of like, why is Lala asking me to lunch? Like, we're not friends like that. And then sort of being like, well, maybe we are friends like that, but maybe it's just for the show because the cameras were there. So clearly part of it was for show. And I was also thinking about how Lala was not a full cast member last season, but Jasmine was. And so, or at least a friend of, but she was on the camera a lot more than Lala. So I could see Jasmine sort of feeling like almost used, like Lala's using her status as having been on the show already to get more time on the camera. So if Jasmine felt that way, she sort of would think to herself, like, it's because of the show that she's even asking me out to lunch. This could be coming from a place of self-doubt. Like, it could be self-consciousness, low self-esteem. She doesn't think Lala would want to be her friend otherwise. She could also be exactly right. It could be because of the show that Lala did that. Honestly, it kind of feels like it, given the timing and the fact it was on camera. So I get it. I get why she was saying what she said about Lala, even though I also like Lala. And she started by saying, I love Lala. So Michelle sort of going to her and saying what she said. She didn't say she said that first. So basically I'm just sort of like, oof, I think it's valid. I think it's valid that Brandon stood up for her. I think it's valid what she said. So then she goes and she's like, I need to clear the air. Why would you say this? Why would you talk shit about me? And they're like, we didn't talk shit about you. What do you mean? She's like, well, Brandon told me. And they're like, oh, that's a Brandon thing, not us. And she ends up getting mad at Brandon because she's sort of like, you misled me. Because she even says, like, you said. First she says to the girls, like, why would he say I've got your back unless something happened? And so they sort of was like, well, I said this. And Lala was like, well, I said this. I heard this about you, and sort of felt like this. Which, by the way, Lala says, I heard that you say something. You're nice to people, and behind their back you say something. That's pretty mean. Like, that should tell you they were talking shit. But she kind of blows over that because she's like, well, that's not really, whatever. She lets Lala's tone speak for it and sort of suggest it wasn't a big deal, even though it kind of was. And then Brandon comes in. And she's like, you told me they were talking shit. He said, I said they weren't talking shit. I said that it's not like they were talking shit. And she gets upset, walks away. Understandably, felt like abandoned by him after he set off the alarm bells. And also I think she was wrong too. I think he did say, I'm not saying she was talking shit. I'm just saying she said this. So that was just sort of, I was thinking that, like, it could be coming from a place of, like, seniority for Jasmine, sort of feeling like she has seniority over Lala, and so in that position sort of being like critical of why she'd want to go out to lunch or breakfast or dinner, whatever it was, feeling some seniority. So the other thing I just want to mention as well is, like, Lala's comment. So in fact, first of all, this is a socio-political moment because of the racism, okay? Because there's, like, yes, white people didn't understand why Brandon would have her back, and they didn't understand why, whatever. And by the way, perhaps even more importantly, Michelle, while Jasmine is talking to them and sort of saying, like, what is it? Like, I'm not like that. Why would you say that about me? Da-da-da. Michelle goes, why are you attacking me? You're, like, jumping. I think she was going to say jumping down my throat, jumping on me, whatever. Racist. Jasmine's entitled to being upset. She's not an angry black woman, which is what you're pulling from on a trope, but to say, like, whoa, you're, like, way overreacting. You clearly got triggered. Like, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, she felt like y'all were talking shit, and then she felt like the person who told her that backed out of telling her that, and now she looks like an idiot. She feels like she got bamboozled. Okay? So yeah, she's reacting as she should, as anyone would. And in many cases, right, like if a white person was doing that, they wouldn't get the same sort of like, whoa, why are you attacking me reaction from another white person. So that felt very racially charged as a reaction. And the last thing I'll say, which is actually a side note. So Lala says to our camera, first of all, she's sad. This is back when she hears that Jasmine was saying, like, well, Lala, says something, but it's really probably just about the show. And Lala says this to camera, like, I've been real since I was born, so I'm very authentic. It's not just for the show. But she also says something that she shows she's feeling sad about it, but she says something very, very sad. She goes, every time I would go out with someone, I would get home and kick myself because I felt like I gave a small piece of myself to them. So that's not a perfect quote, but what does that mean? It's sort of like, I don't know, sad, I guess. But it's sort of just her saying, like, I don't know. I give gifts and I don't get returns from them. People don't stick by me even though I give them part of me. I was vulnerable, right? You know what it is? It's like she's being vulnerable with them. That's her leaving a piece on the table. It's like she's vulnerable and then not met with the same vulnerability or not met with the same care after being vulnerable as one would hope after being vulnerable. So I think she's saying I get punished basically when I'm vulnerable with people. I feel like I gave up a part of myself. I shouldn't give it up because they're not doing the same in return. That's that piece. Okay, so the second part, Roman numeral, little Roman numeral 2 for this part, which is the I spotted sociopolitical moment. This is from Summer House. I spotted a conversation between KJ and Dara that felt very sociopolitically relevant. So in this scene, and KJ is a man of color, Dara is, I believe, a white woman. She is at least light-colored skin, passing as white. So she has privilege he doesn't have, as he is probably brown, like middle shade black. So he says to her, she's sitting on the floor, like sort of putting lotion on. He goes, you look really nice. And she goes, well, she goes, is it because I'm not wearing makeup? And then he goes, yeah. So the fact she knew to guess that that's what he meant means that off camera he tells her, why do you have to wear makeup? You don't have to wear, you look better without it. Why do you have to wear makeup? And she probably just got to the point where it was just sort of being like, thank you, that's nice, and I'm going to wear makeup. So he's like reinforcing her not wearing makeup. It's clear it's coming from off of another conversation because the fact she would even guess that versus being like, thank you, that's nice. She guessed it was because she wasn't wearing makeup. He said yes, so it's clearly been a conversation. Troubling. The narrative around makeup is troubling because it's ultimately a product of beauty culture, which ideally we would stop adhering to. I would love it if we could just all challenge that together. What's hard is that we are in a beauty culture where we are expected to wear makeup. And so if somebody says, like, you look so good without it, like, why would you wear it? You don't need to wear it, yada, yada. It's like, yeah, you think that's flattering. And maybe it is for a second. But it's also saying, like, don't wear makeup. You don't look good with makeup on. When, like, we're also expected to wear makeup. And especially if she's on camera, she's going to feel like she needs to wear makeup. Especially if she's next to people who are wearing makeup. She's going to feel like she needs to. So while I think it's a nice sentiment to say you look good without makeup, I think it needs to be paired with and with makeup. Either way, you look great. And so I had brought this up to my husband too, and I was like, oh no, the fact she said, is it because I'm not wearing makeup, means they've had a whole conversation about this. And he had said to her, you look good without it. Don't wear it. And I was like, that's shitty because the beauty culture puts us in this position. And he's like, it would have been better than if he goes, it would have been better if he said, you look good either way, with or without makeup, you look beautiful. And I was like, exactly. If you say both, wonderful. What a nice compliment. If you tell me that I look better without it, I'm going to be annoyed because I have to wear it sometimes. And beauty culture tells me I should. And if I want to fit in with other people who are wearing makeup, yada, yada. So that's a sociopolitical conversation around makeup and women and beauty culture. And I think something for everyone to attend to. And so if he were to say it differently, he might say, you look beautiful with or without it. You look beautiful right now. You look beautiful last night. So anything you do, can't get away from how beautiful you are. Right? We like it. And also not have had that conversation off camera about needing to wear makeup. About not wanting her to wear makeup. Okay. Ooh, I actually had a third sociopolitical topic, which I forgot about. This is from Real Houses of Beverly Hills. This is kind of an update on Amanda Francis. As I said, I'd like to talk about the reunion with Dr. Ray, so I won't go into too much detail about this. But one of the things that came up was her comments about her husband, about the fact that she makes so much money. And mind you, Amanda Francis is the one I did the deep dive on, so there's 2 episodes of me talking about her in detail with some clips from the show. Feel free to go back and watch those. Listen to those, watch them. Listen to those, not watch them, actually. I didn't end up being able to do the videos because I lost all the clips. One, my computer died, but you can listen to it. So one of the comments she says is like, well, I make more money in a month than he makes in a year, so I'm the breadwinner. She says it's to Erica sort of offhandedly on a vacation. It isn't super loud and proud as some other comments are that are pretty bad as well. Like when she says to everybody at the dinner table, well, I bought the house. He helped renovate it, but I bought it. You know, making it really clear she has plenty of money. This came back up as like a thing that fans were sort of like, why would you like brag about having so much money, especially in front of a Hilton? You know? And then someone asks her directly, like, well, what did your husband say about you, that comment? And she goes, well, he said, yes, that's true. And then she takes a long pause and she goes, you probably didn't have to say it like that, but it's true. And I think the but it's true part was actually her, not him. I don't think he sandwiched it with a but it's true part, if he ever said it. I think he might have said something like, I know it's true, but like maybe don't tell people that. Like, I don't think you needed to tell everyone that. It's uncomfortable for me. Something like that. But he maybe didn't. Who knows? And then she goes, but you don't teach women about money. And she goes, what? And she's like, well, you model for them, but you don't teach them. And I noticed when she said that, she cast a little look to make sure she and Rachel were okay. She clearly does value Rachel liking her. She thinks that that's important, which she's correct about. Erica brought up, like, well, over time, these kind of comments fester. You plant seeds, and over time, when shit goes to shit, they'll come up and be big flowers of doom. So she's like, be careful what you say. These comments matter. Sutton even says, well, when I was your age, I was holding this baby, if he had said something like that to me or about me, like, I make more in a month than you make in a year, I would be so, like, what the fuck? And great point, right? Role reversal point is a good one. But then it's in response to that Amanda says, well, but men have historically made all the money. So this is like a gold star, chef's kiss, mwah, debate. This is one of those things we absolutely should be talking about and digging into more, sociopolitically speaking. So, yes, you're right. Given that women have historically not been the breadwinners, the question is it okay to brag about it now as a female breadwinner, as a form of promoting other women to feel the same pride in being breadwinners? Or to striving to become the breadwinner in their family? Like, is it encouraging that sort of same thing? Ideally, right? Like having some sort of effect on other people, advocacy, activism. I do like that. And also, she's not just bragging, okay? When she talks about it, she's almost saying it as if she is an anomaly. Like, well, I'm the breadwinner. I'm the one who bought the house. Like, I'm special. Which is actually undoing the whole parent sport she's trying to do. It's sort of being like, look, women can do this too. Like, let's celebrate women who do it. Like, we should all be talking about women who are able to be a breadwinner. She's saying it in such a like, well, I'm unusually good at this. I'm unusually rich. I'm the one who does this. I'm the one who makes more than my husband, blah, blah, blah. So actually it feels a little bit more like competitive, and like she actually believes women shouldn't normally or aren't normally breadwinners because that makes her an anomaly and she stands out and is more impressive. Therefore, so it felt a little bit braggy to me in the wrong direction, for the wrong reason, and potentially with the wrong outcome being of undoing what she's trying to do, which is to suggest that women can do it too. And normally do, plenty of us. I am also the breadwinner, and I do not make my husband feel bad about it at all. In fact, I work hard to make sure he doesn't, because I know that's hard. Right? Like, ultimately, I would hate to have to say that, like, women need to worry about how the effect it is that they're the breadwinner on their loved one. But men have had to learn to do that too, and not brag to us about having so much money more than we do. So, ultimately, although I agree we as women should be able to sort of talk about when we are the breadwinner, we should talk about it with other women in not camera televised ways that emasculates our partners or embarrasses them if it's another woman, and instead be proud of ourselves in a very like contextualized way. Like, I think if she had been able to say something like, I feel like I need to just mention that I'm actually the one who bought the house, and I know that sounds so gauche, but I just want to say, like, I know it's pretty rare for women to be able to be the one to do it, and so I'm proud of myself for it, so I just want to throw it out there. I'm so sorry, that's so braggy. Humble brag. If she were to, like, comment on the fact she's bragging about it, and then only do it once. Don't keep doing it, like, oh, and I make more than him in a month than he makes in a year. Okay? So I think there's a way to do it that actually would promote gender equity agendas and advocacy, and the way she did it is not that. So using that as an excuse is tough. Okay, but that's a sociopolitical thing. Think about gender roles and making money. Now, if I worked with XYZ person, or, cast or something, what would I do in psychotherapy or couples counseling? So I chose Kristen and Luke. I would want to work with Kristen and Luke, both together. And frankly, I think Luke needs his own therapist too. I think we'd get them into therapy together and we'd say, this is one of those times where I think you both might benefit from individual therapy as well. And then we can be your sort of additional space that you come and bring some of those themes together here, and I'll help with that. because Luke is struggling with being a father and doesn't know how to communicate that without sounding like he's competing with Kristen about her discomfort. And I think he just needs some help understanding he's got to let go of who Luke was before the baby and create a new Luke. It doesn't mean he can't go back to doing some of the things he did before, but it shouldn't be this fast, and it shouldn't be while competing with your wife of like, okay, it's your turn. Okay, I can't wait. Next time it's somebody's, next time there's a night, it's a boys' night. Feels very just young in life experience. So I was thrilled when he took Danny's suggestion to heart about going to get therapy. I think that would be great for them to be in therapy, but I think he needs it too, individually, to kind of unpack who he is now as a father, who's the new Luke, who's not just party going or cigar bar going, forcing people to become friends again so he can have a full bar of friends. Yada yada. Another reason that I would want to work with Kristen, she said that her therapist said to her, in response to her saying, I just don't feel like having sex. Her therapist said to her, let me just read it. Oh, what's 15 minutes in your day? Oh my God. I cannot believe a therapist would say that. What? You're saying like she should just get over it and have sex with him because what's 15 minutes anyway in her day? Like, get over it? I'm sorry, what? That's like one step shy of coercion. Or just is. It is promoting coercion. It's saying even if you don't feel like having sex with your husband, just do it. What's 15 minutes anyway? Right? It's sort of like people forget that in romantic relationships you can also be raped. You can also have coercion. If you don't feel like having sex, even if it's just because like you're mad at them, or if you're having sex because you don't want them to be mad at you, that's coercion. That's not because you want to have sex. You should only have sex because you want to have sex. So I feel so badly for Kristen, who's barely postpartum, whose body is feeling strange to her, foreign to her. She's feeling very uncomfortable in her body. She still has a lot of weight. She feels like she should have pivoted already or yo-yoed. And just horrific stuff. So I really think in general any support I could give her about that on its own would probably come first. Like, sort of thinking about body image, normalizing, and also like helping her think about empowerment and finding some of the weight stuff being actually located within society, not herself. Because a lot of this is sizeism. So that's the piece with her that I'd want to do. If I were her friend. So by the way, like, she also went out with Jasmine and Brittany and told them a little bit about it. And Brittany stayed pretty quiet, but Jasmine says a couple things, and one of them she said was, "You look great. You look so great." And this is after Kristen's been like, "I know he says I look good, but like I don't feel that way. I feel gross." I emailed him, or I texted him as soon as I got here and said I'm never going out of the house again. She's feeling super self-conscious. So hard to watch. So hard. Heartbreaking, in fact. So really my thoughts go out to Kristen in this dynamic. It's real tough one to be in. So the other thing too is Jasmine saying, like, "But you look beautiful." And then she also said, "Just let us know if being out here with your friends like makes you feel just even a little bit better about yourself or a little bit more normal. Like, we're happy to come out and have girls' night." Well intended, misses the mark. I think if you're feeling down on your body and someone says, "But you look beautiful," that just feels invalidating. It's like, you might think so. I don't feel that way, so thanks. I look in front of the mirror and I cry, or I miss my body. Oh, heartbreaking, right? Another version of that is Luke sort of being like, "Well, I want to have sex with you all the time. I think you look great. I want to have sex with you all the time." Again, it's sort of like, yeah, okay, you can say that, but I don't feel that way, and so that makes you feel icky, like you're lying to me potentially. Try and pull one over on me. So, her self-disgust, Kristen's self-disgust is just tough to sit with. So I really want to work with her and just sort of be able to sit with her in that together and sort of say, like, yeah, you probably do feel totally different. Your body has done something miraculous and you must feel very, very tired and very, very self-conscious. What could a friend say, right, in this scenario where you have a friend who is deeply concerned about their weight and how they look, especially after birth? So if I were a friend and, like Jasmine, wanted to talk to Kristen about this and offer my help, here's what I would maybe try to say. I know I couldn't possibly know how you feel. And maybe Brittany is closer to being able to understand how you feel because she's also had a baby and had that sort of, body, post-baby body. So maybe Brittany is a little bit closer to having a sense of what you're going through. And I really kind of doubt either of us could say anything that would really make you feel better, which I just want to name that because it must be so hard. But I do hope that you'll always feel free to just share whatever you're feeling. You don't need to sugarcoat it for us, no matter what it sounds like. Don't worry about what it sounds like. We will be here for you no matter what. On camera, off camera, dinner, your place, whatever. You don't need to go out. So just know that we're here for you. And even if there are days when it feels hopeless, you will get through. You are Kristen. You are strong. Even if your body doesn't feel like Kristen right now, it will again. even if it takes all sorts of time. There is no normative sort of timeline. So even if I can just offer a reminder to be patient with yourself, I want to offer that. But it's up to you. Whatever I can do. So I want you to be able to call me if you're feeling helpless. If you're feeling helpless, give me a ring and let me know what you need. Like, do you want me to say a certain thing? Do you need to hear a certain thing? In general, I like to have a sort of split of like, let me know if you'd rather empathy or problem solving in a given dynamic. If you call me and you say, problem solving, here's where I'm at, what do I do? I'm on it. If you come and say, listen, I just need you to listen, active listen, and give me some empathy, I'm there. I'll absolutely do that. So I hope that you can take some time or whatever and just sort of think about what I can do as a friend to support you when you're feeling low as possible. Let me be a shoulder, an ear, an advocate, whatever you need. Right. So, like, that's where I would end that conversation with Kristen. Put the ball in her court. What does she need from us? What does she want to hear from us when she's feeling particularly down? Does she feel like she can call us when she's feeling that way, etc.? But just between me and you and dear listeners, as somebody who's been in the public eye and quite skinny, really tall and skinny, part of this is also really body image given society's views on beauty culture and what it looks like to be pretty, which is typically skinny, so or thin. So given that, in therapy, I would work with her over time to really identify some of the sources of those messages as being societal. So I would do some stuff with Kristen separately. First, I want Luke to go get therapy separately, learn what it's like to be a dad, because all this complaining about, like, I'm not my real self anymore. Where's my time? Why can't I have time alone with the guys? Yada, yada. Is just childish. It's like my friend. He's like, we haven't had sex. Of course you haven't had sex. Her body just got ripped open, alien style. A baby was taken out of her ripped open body. And you're welcome for making a perfect baby for you. Kristen did. And instead you're sort of like, why can't I have sex? I want to poke you. It's brutal. It's brutal. Because there's some things that she says that I just want to, like, vomit. I'm so upset for her. The fact her therapist actually did say, what's 15 minutes in your day about having sex is appalling. She should not have sex if she doesn't feel like having sex. No matter what. Meanwhile, he had said to her, I'm never going to stop trying to have sex. I don't try, it'll stop happening. So I'm going to keep trying. And she said, but I'm grateful because it's nice to feel wanted when I don't feel that way. Right? Tough. Because I'm kind of saying, like, it also can feel really dismissive if somebody's going through a lot and someone else is like, well, I'm just going to keep trying because I think you look great like this. So it could make Kristen feel unseen that he sort of is like, well, I don't care that you feel that way. I'm going to keep trying. It also has a little bit of a, like, she must feel guilty, right? When she says no. And she must say no enough times that she feels like sometimes she has to say yes when she doesn't want to, and she feels like she has to. And by the way, that comes up from Kristen directly, where she says she had a perfect girls' night because right, ready for this? She literally says, she had a perfect girls' night tonight because I was not hungover the next day, I got good rest, I was well rested, and I didn't have to have sex. She said, I didn't have to have sex. That's a quote, word for word. Alarming. This is alarming. Okay. This is what we call marital rape. And I understand that sounds really severe, but ultimately she does not want to be having sex with him and she feels like she has to. This is probably something plenty of couples relate to. And unfortunately, in a lot of cases, this is a type of coercion and rape that goes unspoken about because especially with religious backgrounds, including in our country, you know, thinking about Mormons as well, thinking about religious tradition where men feel, or men are told it is their right to have sex and to have a woman's body. They are given that right by having a wife. She is there to give him pleasure when he wants, not when she wants. So given that history, it's sort of an unspoken assumption that if he wants it, you give it. And if you want to say no, okay, but you got to say yes sometimes, right? Like ultimately he's going to keep trying and then you feel guilty if you say no, and blah, blah, blah. So just for fuck's sake, Luke, like take a beat, fucking learn to masturbate. Self-pleasure is an important part of sexual health. Okay? So figure that out. And give her body a rest. And give her self-esteem a rest. Give her some space. Let her have some self-compassion. Help her own psyche first. And then your dick will actually be more effectively taken care of. Because she will be more into it. So, trouble. A therapist saying that, trouble. I really need that therapist to take a beat and learn some shit about the idea that historically speaking, women's bodies being an object for men to use when they want is probably coming into the chat with the way they're saying that what's 15 minutes? What's 15 minutes? I'm sorry. What? What's 15 minutes? If she's going to have sex that she doesn't feel like she wants to have, over time she's going to resent him. And on top of that, her body's going to start to feel violated. And it's going to actually contribute to why she feels this way. In fact, this is probably making it worse, if that's the attitude you're giving her to have. Okay. Fuck. Alarming.
Sorry for the rant, but I'm upset. It's alarming. And to anybody listening who feels like this is relatable content with Kristen, we're sort of like, yeah, that, you know, we sort of have sex, like, there's a, right, like, you know, like, we have sex, we had to, like, set a schedule so that it would happen, because otherwise I would just let it go and go and go, and then they'd feel worried about asking because they didn't want to feel rejected, right? These kinds of things are common dialogues around sex and marriages. Nope. You know what I mean? If you don't want to have sex, don't have sex, and they should respect that. It should come with you both excited, having enthusiastic, ongoing, sober consent. Otherwise, it is coercion. Even if it's just sort of like pulling on the marriage card, that's still coercion. Having sex so that he doesn't get mad at you, that's coercion. So, especially given that women, as they age, so let's say Kristen's age, and as she ages further, that's actually her sexual prime. So she should be the one trying to have sex, frankly. And if she's not, then give her some space. It's not going to not happen just because you don't ask for it. You know, give her some time to heal, and then she'll be excited to get back in there. And if not, then you go to therapy, whatever. Or she sees a therapist about her self-image. But calm down, Luke. Figure it out. Okay, this is also part of why I feel like he's like 18 years old. He's like, he has the libido of an 18-year-old in terms of like needing it so badly he would coerce his wife. And like, even if she didn't really want it, he'd be happy if she gave it to him anyway. You know, that attitude. But then also, just for fuck's sake, this emotional maturity. You need to learn what it is like to be a father, which includes sometimes not putting your needs first. And yes, you feel like you're disappearing as a person, but until you learn what it's like to be a father, you won't learn what it's like to be Luke and a father. So learn how to be a father, then you can figure out how to bring in your old self in a certain way. You'll never be the same person, but what a gift, you know? What a gift, actually. So, sorry, I have some feelings about this, clearly. So... yeah, right. Like, you know, you're in trouble when Jesse Lawley says to you, that's to be expected. Because Luke says to him, I'm not having any sex. Like, we're not intimate together. Jesse Lawley's like, well, that's to be expected. Like, yeah, he's had one child and he knows that. So get on board. Okay. I'm surprised people didn't talk more about this. So, second to last part. Sabrina is a fam. She's a mother effing fan. There's no way she didn't have back chat. There's no way it's just from what Ben told her that she knew exactly what to say to every cast member. I mean, she had a line planned for everybody. She knew to say to Sierra, oh, you're so much more than your beauty. You're great. You're like perfect. You know, it's like, oh my God. And then just doing too much. She's doing too much. And then saying to Amanda, I just really want to see you happy. I just want you to be with somebody that makes you happy. So like, clearly there's some back chat. Like, frankly, that could have been some Ben being like, I don't think they're happy. They seem to fight a lot. But also, like, of course, Ben's going to have a little bit of an ulterior motive and sort of saying, like, she's not happy with him. Like, I think I'd be better for her, even though I'm not saying that to Sabrina. So then Sabrina was totally caught off guard when Amanda says to her, like, yeah, everyone says that he was in love with me. Which, of course, that's also Amanda's ulterior motive of sort of like, all right, back off. I was here first. I'm sort of his low-key wife. I don't even know who you are. And you're suddenly here acting like y'all are in love. Which is what Amanda said to us and to West. So very clearly that's actually her perspective. She feels like Sabrina's coming in doing too much and that Amanda was here first. He's really more her, you know, whatever. And frankly, I think that Ben also has these kind of feelings because what does he say to Amanda when he confronts her? What were you trying to get out of that? Like, what were you trying to do? Which that's not the question I would ask if I was just upset with her for saying it. If I was upset with her for saying it, I might just sort of say, like, hey, you know, like, I get that we sort of were playful about the idea of, like, me being into you. And I know, like, for example, Bailey made a joke about that. But ultimately, I do really like Sabrina. I'm so sorry. You know, it's probably awkward. I get why you said it. But, like, if we could drop that a little bit, that'd be great. Because I am sort of trying to be happy now since you're clearly married and I need to move on. That's what you do. But he wants them to fight over him, as he said when they walked into the house. And he giggled while giggling. First time walking towards the house with Sabrina. And he says, you're getting your boxing gloves out? He, like, wants them to fight over him. Stop. Actually, I guess it was the second time coming to the house or something, because it was the second time. It was after she'd already met Amanda. So as they're walking towards the house, second time with Sabrina, getting your boxing gloves out, he wants them to fight over him. So there's that ulterior motive. There's also the ulterior motive of low-key loving Amanda for real and wanting her to love him back, as noted by the fact that he wanted to know if she was trying to get back with him by saying that, or wanting to get with him by saying he's in love with me. What is the goal you're going for? Is it me? Do you want me? You know, he would drop it like it's hot if he could have Amanda. Let's be so for real. And she knows it, and she at least hopes it's true. I feel like she's been inspired to leave Kyle because she's been excited about Ben. Like, I think he's been a big part of her realizing she can get her flirt on still. She can make guys like her still, where she might have felt like she couldn't for a long time while married to Kyle.
So I think he kind of excited her libido enough for her to sort of reconsider being in her marriage. And so then to have him sort of like marry up with someone else would be alarming. So she was definitely thrown by that. She tells us, who is this girl? Sit down. But then she talks to Sierra, and she starts by sort of being like, oh my God, she said this. And Sierra's reaction as a new friend of Sabrina's, because she likes that Sabrina and was cute and girly with her, which was cute, granted, with a motive, because she knew that Sierra's the popular one, because she's seen the show, because she's a fan, in my opinion. But then the Sierra's reaction was sort of like, ooh, yeah, she's probably right, kind of a reaction to Amanda saying, like, she said this about me. So then Amanda hard pivoted and was like, yeah, I just feel so bad that she thinks I said that. Like, oh man, I hate the idea that I made someone uncomfortable. Oh, it just makes me feel sick about myself. I felt like this was important learning about Amanda in terms of saying that she will ultimately always put image first, and also even with Sierra, sort of be like, and that she'll even bring in her self-doubt and self-disgust as a tool. Because that's what that was. Ugh, that makes me feel sick saying that, but it was, right? Like, she sort of was like, oh, I feel so gross. You were just telling us how gross how gross Sabrina is. And frankly, I agree with you. I thought Sabrina did way too much. I think she was too drunk the first night she was there. She went way overboard. Even if she did learn all of that from Ben and she's not a fan, gross. Why would you come into a party and tell everybody you know everything about their shit? Take a beat. Too much. So we learned a lot about that. Basically, I'm surprised people aren't talking more about that. And sure enough, when she brings it up to Sierra also even says, like, well, we all fuck up. You know, so she's sort of agreeing that, like, you did do too much. By the way, I love Sierra. I totally get where she's coming from. She likes Sabrina. She's backing Sabrina. It makes total sense. And if Amanda did say that, which she obviously did, the fact Amanda said that is a little too much, right? She's sort of territorial. And she can't be territorial about Ben because she's married. So there is a little bit of a... And even to camera, she was like, what the fuck, Ben? Like, I'm married, dude. Like, so she's sort of like pulling on that as a defense as well. Too much. Okay. Anyway, I get why Sierra's saying that, but she's sort of saying like, oh yeah, we do all fuck up. So then certainly Amanda has to be like, oh no, like, oh, I felt terrible. The next time we see her talk about it, it's with West, and he's clearly on the same page she is. She's like, what, is he married? He's like, yeah, what the fuck? And he's like, want to slam me hard. And she sort of laughs. She's like, no, but it wasn't okay that I said that. Like, oops. So like rewrites the conversation about it. I wonder if they had a conversation offline too first, off camera, or they both agreed. And clearly he heard that she had said that. So the last section is, we've talked about this before. So sort of like our proudest prediction moment, kind of, but it's something we've talked about before. I have two. One is these boys on reality TV getting a little touch of fame, cannot handle their shit. Keep it together. Okay. So we know that about West. He immediately left Sierra, abandoned her after finally having sex with her, but also because he had too many people in his DMs, let's be real. So he finally gets a little bit of fame. He can't handle saying no to these women that are throwing themselves at him, and so he has to be single. Just has to be. Even though he has the most gorgeous, smartest, most incredible, down-to-earth, smart, emotionally intelligent person he'll probably ever meet who loves him, and he's totally missing the boat here because of the DMs and the Instagram profiles he can look at and be able to get, quote-unquote. So we saw that with West, and the reason I bring it back up, we already talked about it with West. That's the time we talked about it before. I bring it back up because now we're seeing that again also with Brian and maybe Pepe in Beyond the Villa. So there were both of those had sort of cheating scandals after the reunion of Love Island season 7. And Beyond the Villa, we sort of learned like maybe it's a little bit more complicated than we thought. I think Brian's is less complicated. He sort of just like apologizes for it, takes on ownership. Pepe is sort of like, I actually really didn't do that, so I don't really know what to do with that because I didn't do it. I almost believe him, which is wild. Like normally I'd be like, nah, but I don't know. There's something about it. So either I'm also getting fooled by his charm, or there is something more complicated about it, because they do attract that kind of attention too, negative attention too. He said, I never cheated on Iris. I was right there with her. Like, this girl's saying it. There's nothing that materialized from it, so you should also get it. It's not just me. There's no receipts. So I get that too. They also get negative attention. But just like West, Brian also slept with Amaya and dumped her right after, by text, in fact. So are you okay? Like, what are you doing? Don't do that. That is so gross. Like, I feel like we were in the fucking 2000s and people were aware of the fact that it was nasty to do something like that. Where have we gone? Why are we backwards? What is happening? Don't use a woman for her body and move on. That is so cliche and gross. And also, just whatever. I mean, obviously don't stick in it if you don't stick in it. Don't stick with it if you're not happy. And also, if you were only in it and happy because you were waiting for that sex, and then as soon as you had it, you're like, yeah, I guess I don't want it. Gross. Like, hopefully that can be the last time you do that, and next time you can tell the difference between lust and love. But also on the flip, the other part that came from Beyond the Villa that we've talked about before are these hateful fan messages fan or non-fan, but people who are saying things like kill yourself. Brian brings up a message that he'll never forget of someone saying the world will be a better place. So horrific, and something I created an infographic for on my Instagram, on our podcast Instagram, about, because ultimately the stats about who these people are that do this, that are more likely to be doing it, are young adolescent boys who are learning to normalize that kind of language on video gaming platforms. So it's also the militarism of our culture that valorizes aggression, the male patriarchy and male hegemony and patriarchy. These values suggest that men need to be aggressive and dominant. And so if young prepubescent boys are not feeling dominant in the rest of their lives because they are still kids and treated like kids by their parents and at school, then they're going to find a place where they can feel dominant, like online, where people don't know they're a kid. So those kinds of things ideally can help people have just pity, not try to engage, and just let them try to find their attention somewhere else, because it's not really about you. And my heart aches for the people that feel like they need to read the comments. Just given that those comments are literally children talking outside of their, like, punching up or something, you know what I mean? Like, outside of their class. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. And also, they don't really feel like there's as much weight to those kind of comments as we do, because we would never have said that to each other growing up. But now it's so normalized, that's not really even, right? Like, doesn't mean the same thing to them. It also likely comes from a place of self-hatred. So how sad, right? Some pity for these young boys. It's not about you. Try to distance it. I say that as if it's easy, and it's not. I can't imagine getting those kind of comments. So, well wishes to all of the castmates of all the reality TV shows that receive these kinds of messages. And my heart's out also to you young boys who feel like you have no other way of feeling powerful, and that you're in a culture that tries to say that you're nothing if you're not powerful and aggressive because you're a boy. The truth is, fuck that. The patriarchy doesn't help anybody, including boys and men. Men have bad mental health outcomes even if they adhere to male gender norms, and then certainly if they subvert them. So no matter what, everybody's suffering, even men in a patriarchy. Let's try to fight it together. This hatred can go down as well. Vitriol. So, actually, interestingly, maybe this is sort of my reality check. I saw recently there's a new study that shows that cyberbullying has moved from being a primarily girl technique of bullying to a primarily male technique of bullying, and primarily in gaming context. Well, all right, listen. Check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/realitytest, capital R, capital T. You can go to Patreon and put in the search bar @realitytest. That's how you'll find us. You can also just pay $5 a month, measly $5, and you will get all sorts of bonuses, videos of our episodes and other behind-the-scenes videos. And if you're a member, including just a free member of our Patreon, you get access to our audio the night before we post it to everybody. I will also say that you can go to our Instagrams at Reality Test Podcast, or at Dr. K-Pods and at Dr. Ray Pods for Dr. Ray, at Dr. K-Pods for me. You can go to our Facebook at Reality Test Pod, and which is our page name. Also YouTube at Reality Test Pod with the @ symbol is our channel. What else? Email realitycheckpodding@gmail.com. And I guess I would ask, actually I'm going to save that debate for my conversation with Dr. Ray. But I suppose I would say sort of, is there anything that's helped you deal with cyberbullying and help you, if you've gotten those kind of comments or seen those kind of comments, something that you think might help people to think about in those cases? Check that idea out and realitycheckpodding me at realitycheckpodding@gmail.com, and I'll share what you said on the podcast in the future. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Rate, review, subscribe, as Dr. Ray would say. Tell all your friends, as Dr. Ray would say. And those of you who are here because your friends told you, thank you so much. Tell your friends as well. Let's let this proliferate out. We love you all and your support and your listenership. And we hope you're taking care of yourselves. And we appreciate and love you. And we'll see you next session, baby. Bye.
Let's reality test.